And I just wanted to ask about Pakatan Harapan. And do you think that the parties in the coalition, right? So PKR, DAP, not so much Amanah because it is new, but still it's a splinter party from past. Do you think they all took a hit in their credibility when they decided to make Dr. Mahathir the prime ministerial candidate? And it seemed to me that all along, I mean, PKR was essentially a party founded on justice against Dr. Mahathir, right? And DAP has had a lot of issues with Dr. Mahathir before. So it seems like they lost the moral ground when they decided to do that. And they showed that, oh, politics is ultimately about expediency, and no party should be talking about morality, it seems to me. Will you say that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, I mean, this is a tricky one. Okay, look, all parties exist to be in a position of power. Only in highly exceptional cases would the party exist for platforming purposes, right? To raise and champion issues. And you could say that for very few parties in Malaysia, such as Parti Socialist Malaysia, to a certain extent Parti Rakyat Malaysia, which is all but non-existent. Parti Socialist Malaysia has been able to stay on for so long because of only one individual, right? Dr. Jayakumar, who has done an excellent job in doing groundwork, community work. He's provided a lot of medical provisions to his people. But ideologically speaking, it's not a party that all Malaysians can accept. It's a very niche party, not a catch-all party at all. So with that exception being the case, all parties are in there. They are contesting because they want to be in power. I would add that in a country as centralized like Malaysia, in a political system like Malaysia, where all the losers lose all, or rather it's a winner takes all kind of system, the stakes are even higher because the way that resources are distributed, the way money is allocated, constituency development funds, for example, are only rewarded in equal amounts if you are a party aligned with the government. If you're an opposition party, then you don't actually get those resources on an equal share. So it's really not a very level playing field at all in Malaysia, where, like I said, the winner really takes all, the loser also loses all. So with that caveat aside, why would any party decide on a strategy that does not provide them the highest winning odds? I think that really is the question, right? But yes, I agree that parties also need to decide what is the limit, because voters will also make their decisions based on the sort of moral compass that they purport to adhere to. So I think in Keadilan's case, or in Pakatan Harapan's case, what happened in the lead up to 2018, so if you're talking about 2018 as the decision, right, so you're saying that there was a possible compromise in allowing Mahathir to be the prime minister, right? That's what you're saying.
Right.
You have to remember that in the 2 years leading up to 2018, there were a lot of incidents that took place in which Mahathir actually demonstrated a level of, I mean, yeah, you say that, people don't change, and especially someone who is a 90-year-old man, how is it possible that he actually would have changed his colors after so many years of playing the game? But in the few years leading up to 2018, he managed to garner a lot of public support. He attended Bersih 5. He had a lot of public support. Even before the formation of his party Bersatu, he already came up with this sort of like document together with civil society that talked about reforms and the institutional reforms that are needed to address the issue of corruption in Malaysia. He worked closely with some of the major civil society leaders in the country to do that. So what I'm saying is that he was already warming, and some members of society were already warming to him. In fact, it was probably, you know, Parti Keadilan and Anwar that was among the last of these reformist types who were willing to eventually accept him
Right.
as genuine. By that time, you know, Mahathir was clever enough, strategic enough, wily enough, perhaps you might argue, to be able to win people over. So by the time that he was eventually selected as the prime minister candidate, I think it was a compromise. Yes, it was a compromise, but it was a compromise not entirely based on the figurehead of the Mahathir who had imprisoned, you know, many people under Operasi Lalang. I think it was a different kind of Mahathir that at least the Pakatan and the supporters of Pakatan had included into their fray and accepted as one of their own. And also because, remember again, it was centralized around the big issue of 1MDB, right? 2018 election was all about 1MDB. They joined forces to fight that. And so I think we have to just remember the context within which many of these things took place. Of course, what happened consequently and his decision or inability to think of handing over the reins to anybody else, that I think singularly was his downfall. But apart from that, I actually don't see it directly as a break in the sort of ideals of Pakatan, because Mahathir had, you know, whatever you might want to think, perhaps it was disingenuous, but he had sufficiently convinced enough people that he too was a reformist. So that was the context, right? Yeah.